Windows Server 2019 integrates heavily with Azure. One of the useful tools is Azure File Sync. What I can do is automatically replicate local file shares to Azure storage. So you have a complete copy of this in Azure. Now, administrators continue to support local access, meaning on your file server, you manage this as if it's not synced to Azure in any way. You set permissions, you create files, folders, all those things managed exactly the same, and users access it if they're local exactly the same. It automatically backs up disparate branch office data, simply meaning your on-site, like your local data, gets saved to Azure, it's going to be backed up. It also allows cloud tiering. This is very useful. Data that is not used that often is automatically moved to Azure off-premise. So we can have data access most often readily available on our local server. Other data can just reside in Azure, and we can have it sync back and forth, basically based on your demand. Now, this is secure. This is probably the number one question I get about anything related to the cloud. How do I know it's secure? How do I know the connections are secure? Think of this as no different than connecting your branch office to a parent office. Instead, you are now just connecting your office to the Azure cloud. It uses SSL over port 443, so it is a secure connection. This is a diagram of how it could look. I have a file server in one location in region A. This file server has a share on it, and it synchronizes that to Azure. I have file server B. It has a share. It also synchronizes that to Azure. And actually, this is bi-directional synchronization. So now, if I add a new file, I'm just going to say file.txt. That file.txt is going to show up here. It's going to be synchronized to this Azure file share. It's also going to synchronize to my file server too, assuming that's what you want and that's the way you configure it. So both of these now replicate to and through Azure. In Azure, it's automatically backed up to my Azure Backup Vault. So we have a backup and recovery solution. We have full synchronization. So now this share is accessible from the cloud as well. One of the most useful things I find in Azure, I have my user Bob. Let's say Bob travels 100% of the time. Maybe he's a sales user, so he is never really in an office. He either works from home or he's traveling around seeing clients. So he's never really in the office. But he needs to connect to these file shares. Well, the old way of doing this was a remote access solution. Wherever Bob was, he would have to connect through a VPN client. Then he could connect to shares and all those things on-prem. Well, when I have this synchronized out to Azure, Bob can automatically have a connection to Azure and to the Azure file share and access these files. Bob can even have a mapped drive. So let's say on Bob's machine for this mapped drive here, that's supposed to say map, it kind of got away from me. But I could have, say, an H drive mapped. Now, anything Bob saves to the H drive is automatically saved out to my Azure file share. No different than having a mapped network drive that you connect to in your on-premise environment. This one just resides in Azure, but still just a share you connect to and through the internet to actually access it.